The starship Hope floated through the silent void, its gleaming white hull emblazoned with the ancient symbol of healing, a red cross that had guided the wounded and sick to sanctuary for over a millennium. The massive vessel, 3 kilometers from bow to stern, was unmistakable against the backdrop of stars. No military vessel in the known galaxy boasted such a profile. Its rounded contours and observation domes were designed for healing, not harm. Admiral Isla Russo stood in the observatory of the UN Vigilant, watching the transmission from the Hope with her hands clasped tightly behind her back. Her dark eyes reflected the holographic feed, showing the medical teams working feverishly in one of the Hope's many trauma wards. The transmission was 12 hours old, the last regular update before communications had abruptly ceased. "Magnify Sector 8, she commanded softly. The image zoomed in on a small Koresh girl, no more than 7 by Earth standards. Her blue-tinged skin was covered in regenerative nanogel as human doctors delicately reconstructed her shattered leg. The bone knitting procedure was one uniquely developed by human medical science, one of many treatments that made the United Earth Coalition's hospital ships vital resources throughout the galaxy. This is what we stand for, Isla whispered, more to herself than to Commander Julian Reeves, who stood at attention beside her. 2,000 patients aboard, 14 species, including Vocarex citizens. Reeves shifted uncomfortably. "Admiral, High Command is waiting for your assessment." Isla nodded, her silver-streaked black hair catching the starlight. At 58, she carried herself with the bearing of someone who had seen both the best and worst the galaxy had to offer. Before becoming the Supreme Commander of Earth's Strategic Response Force, she had been a military physician, commanding relief vessels much like the Hope. "Tell them I'm analyzing the tactical data now," she replied, her French accent becoming more pronounced as memories flooded back. Memories of her own time aboard hospital ships, treating soldiers and civilians from both sides during the Proxima conflicts. The observatory door slid open, and a tall man with close-cropped gray hair entered. Dr. Kian Idris had been the chief medical officer aboard the Hope until 3 days prior, when a routine staff rotation had brought him back to Earth. His eyes were red-rimmed from lack of sleep. "Any word?" he asked, voice hollow. Isla's expression softened. "Nothing new, Kian. The distress signal stopped broadcasting 6 hours ago." Dr. Idris nodded mechanically. "I should have been there. Then we would have lost you too," Isla replied. She turned back to the viewing port, where distant stars shimmered like the tears she refused to shed. The Hope was carrying supplies to the outer colonies. Standard humanitarian mission. They maintained all proper broadcast protocols, identifying themselves as a medical vessel. She brought up the ship's final transmissions. The data was fragmented, but clear enough. The Hope had been broadcasting the International Distress Beacon along with identification codes, designating it as a hospital ship protected under the Galactic Concordat, a treaty even the Vocarex Empire had signed, albeit reluctantly. "The log is conclusive," she continued, voice hardening. "They were fired upon without warning. The aggressor was Vocarex battle cruiser Dreadhammer under the command of Raul Vorn." Dr. Idris's hands curled into fists. The Hope carried no weapons. It couldn't even raise shields without shutting down life support for half the patients. "I know," Isla said quietly. "I approved the design specifications myself. Maximum medical capacity at the expense of defensive systems. Because we believed in something better." She turned to face both men fully now, her posture straightening. "Commander Reeves, seal all outgoing communications. Effective immediately. Earth enters communications blackout." Reeves blinked in surprise. "Total blackout? But the colonies have been informed through secure channels. They know what to do." Isla's eyes had grown cold. "Inform the Security Council that I am implementing Protocol Aegis." Commander Reeves paled. "Thunderbolt variant, Admiral?" "Yes." Her voice was barely audible. "Thunderbolt." As Reeves departed swiftly to relay the orders, Dr. Idris stepped closer. "Isla, what is Protocol Aegis?" She turned back to the viewport, looking out at the stars that had once promised so much hope. "Something we prayed we'd never need, Kian. Something 15 years in the making." She closed her eyes briefly. When I lost my husband and daughter on a Mercy during the Proxima relief mission, I swore their deaths wouldn't be meaningless. Dr. Idris placed a hand on her shoulder. You never told me you had a family. Some wounds never heal, she replied. I transferred from medical to strategic command the day after their funeral. I've spent 15 years ensuring Earth would never be seen as weak for showing mercy. She brought up a new holographic display, a tactical overview of known space. Thousands of data points illuminated, representing everything from Earth colonies to Valkyrex strongholds. The Valkyrex believe we are soft because we heal instead of conquer, she said, her voice gaining strength. They've mistaken compassion for weakness. They fired on mercy itself, Kian. So now they will learn what Earth can truly do when provoked. She activated her neural link to Earth's central command. This is Admiral Rousseau. Authentication code Sierra Echo 994 Delta. Implement protocol Aegis, Thunderbolt. Effective immediately. Across the vast distances of space, a signal spread. Invisible, silent, but unstoppable. Earth had gone dark, and the galaxy would soon understand why. Commander Raul Vorn stood on the command deck of the Valkyrex battlecruiser Dreadhammer, his scaled skin gleaming under the harsh lighting. His six-fingered hand rested on the hilt of his ceremonial blade, a symbol of rank in the militaristic Valkyrex Empire. Status report on Earth communications, he demanded, yellow eyes narrowing at the communications officer. Still nothing, Commander. Complete silence for the past 30 hours. Vorn made a dismissive gesture. Cowards. They hide when faced with superior strength. He paced the length of the bridge, his heavy boots echoing. What of our outposts in the Arcturus sector? The tactical officer looked up from his console, confusion evident in his expression. We've lost contact with all 6 outposts, Commander. Vorn stopped mid-stride. All 6. Simultaneously? Yes, sir. No distress signals, no signs of attack. They simply went silent. A flicker of unease passed across Vorn's face before he mastered it. Dispatch scout vessels immediately. And what of the humans' colonies? Normal activity patterns, Commander. No unusual fleet movements, no military mobilization. It's as if they're simply ignoring what happened. Vorn laughed, a harsh sound that caused several junior officers to flinch. They know better than to challenge the might of Valkyrex. The destruction of their hospital ship was merely a reminder of their proper place in the galactic order. His second-in-command, Subcommander Nexil, stepped closer and lowered his voice. Commander, if I may speak freely, the vessel we destroyed was clearly marked as medical transport. There are rumors among the crew that civilians of our own species were aboard. Vorn's hand moved from his ceremonial blade to Nexil's throat in one fluid motion. You question my judgment? No, Commander, Nexil managed, struggling to speak with Vorn's grip tightening. I merely suggest caution. The humans have proven unpredictable in the past. Vorn released him with a contemptuous shove. The humans are technologically inferior and philosophically weak. Their obsession with mercy and healing makes them vulnerable. He turned to address the entire bridge crew. Set course for their home system. It's time we remind them of their insignificance. As the massive engines of the Dreadhammer hummed to life, Vorn returned to his command chair. Unlike human vessels with their ergonomic designs, Valkyrex command seats were deliberately uncomfortable, a constant reminder that comfort bred complacency. Commander, the communications officer called out, we're detecting a weak transmission from the Arcturus perimeter. On screen, Vorn ordered. The main view screen flickered to life, showing an abandoned communications relay. The automated message was simple, repeating in an endless loop. Asterisk mercy was a gift. You returned it in fire. Asterisk. Vorn stared at the message, a chill running down his spine despite himself. Trace the transmission. Unable to locate the source, Commander. It appears to be broadcasting from multiple points simultaneously. Destroy the relay, Vorn ordered abruptly. The weapons officer hesitated. But sir, it's an unmanned station. Standard protocol is to... I said destroy it. Vorn roared. The Dreadhammer's forward batteries unleashed a burst of energy that obliterated the small communications relay. Vorn watched the explosion with satisfaction, though the unease lingered. Continue on course to Sol System, he commanded, and prepare a battle group. We will teach these humans a lesson they won't survive to remember. Throughout the Valkyrex Empire, a strange phenomenon began to unfold. Military installations went dark without warning. Automated defense systems powered down. Communication networks experienced unexplained failures. At first, these incidents seemed isolated, random. But as hours stretched into days, a pattern emerged. One that sent ripples of concern through the highest echelons of Valkyrex command. In the Galactic Council, Ambassador Threll of the Sophian Collective addressed the emergency session with growing alarm. The situation is unprecedented, she said, her gelatinous form pulsing with agitation. Valkyrex outposts across 3 sectors have ceased all communications. Yet there are no signs of conventional warfare. No debris fields, no radiation signatures, no reported weapons fire. The Valkyrex representative, High Minister Draz, slammed his fist on the council table. This is clearly an act of aggression by the humans. They seek revenge for a simple disciplinary action against one of their vessels that violated our sovereign space. The Earth representative's seat remained conspicuously empty. No communication had been received from a United Earth coalition since the destruction of the Hope. Ambassador Krell of the Manto-Odin Hives adjusted his translator. What evidence do you have that the humans are responsible? Their fleet remains positioned within their own territories. Our long-range scans detect no unusual activity. Then how do you explain the simultaneous loss of communication across a dozen star systems? Draz demanded. Perhaps, Ambassador Threll suggested delicately, we should discuss the nature of the disciplinary action you mentioned. Our records indicate the vessel in question was the UN Hope, a hospital ship carrying wounded from 14 species, including Valkyrex citizens. The council chamber fell silent. A military vessel disguised as medical transport, Draz insisted, though with less conviction. A common human tactic. The Hope has made 37 relief missions in the past 5 years alone, Krell countered. It has been inspected by council observers 12 times. There has never been any evidence of military capability. High Minister Draz rose from his seat, towering over the other representatives. The Valkyrex Empire does not answer to this council. We act as we see fit to maintain order in our sphere of influence. And what of the Galactic Concordat that you signed? Ambassador Threll asked. Article 7 specifically prohibits attacks on medical vessels. A convenience we no longer require, Draz growled before storming from the chamber. As the council erupted into concerned murmurs, no one noticed the small, nondescript human technician in the corner of the room. He made no comment, asked no questions. He simply watched, his neural implant silently relaying everything back to Earth. The journey to Earth took 8 days. Commander Vorn had assembled a battle group of 30 Valkyrex warships, an overwhelming force meant to cow the humans into submission. Yet with each passing day, the reports grew more disturbing. 64 outposts now silent. 3 military shipyards inactive. The Great Defense Network protecting the Valkyrex homeworld experiencing unexplained calibration errors. We should return to defend the homeworld, Subcommander Nexel suggested as they entered the outer reaches of the Sol System. And show weakness? Vorn snarled. No, we crush the humans first, then deal with these technical malfunctions. The battle group approached Mars orbit in attack formation. Vorn stood at the command console, anticipation building. He expected to see panic, defensive posturing, perhaps a pitiful show of resistance from Earth's outdated fleet. Instead, he saw nothing. No defense platforms. No patrol vessels. The orbital lanes around Earth were conspicuously empty. Scan for hidden ships or cloaked defenses, Vorn ordered. Nothing, Commander, the tactical officer reported. Only civilian traffic and orbital habitats. Vorn's expression darkened. They mock us by ignoring our approach? Very well. Target their largest orbital habitat. We will show them the price of disrespect. As the weapons systems powered up, the communications officer suddenly straightened. Commander, multiple energy signatures appearing at the system's Lagrange points. The tactical display transformed as hundreds, then thousands, of new contacts materialized. They had not jumped in from hyperspace. They had simply appeared, as if they had been there all along, but somehow invisible to sensors. Impossible, Vorn breathed. The human ships were unlike anything in the Vocarex intelligence database. They moved with impossible precision, their hulls dark and angular, absorbing rather than reflecting sensor pings. And there were hundreds of them, far more than Earth had ever acknowledged possessing. Commander, the communications officer called, we're receiving a transmission. Text only. The message appeared on Vorn's personal display. Asterisk Commander Raul Vorn of the Vocarex Empire. This is Admiral Isla Russo of the United Earth Strategic Command. You destroyed healers, not warriors. And now, you face the kind of war we always hoped to never need. You have 1 minute to power down your weapons systems voluntarily. Asterisk. Vorn's scales flushed with rage. Prepare all batteries. Target. Their command vessel. Which one is their command vessel? The weapons officer asked, staring at the bewildering array of contacts surrounding them. All of them. Vorn roared. Fire at will. The Dreadhammer's weapons systems suddenly went dead. Throughout the bridge, consoles flickered and died. The ship's artificial gravity wavered momentarily. What is happening? Vorn demanded. Some kind of cyber attack, the systems officer reported frantically. Our command protocols are being rewritten faster than the security systems can respond. Across the battle group, the scene repeated itself. 30 Vocarex warships, the pride of the Empire's fleet, hung helplessly in space, their weapons disabled, engines locked, and communication systems compromised. On the main view screen, a new image appeared. Admiral Isla Russo stood on the bridge of her vessel, her uniform immaculate, her expression resolute. Commander Vorn, she said, her voice calm yet filled with steel. 15 years ago, after losing my family aboard a hospital ship similar to the one you destroyed, I convinced Earth's leadership to invest in a different kind of defense. Not bigger guns or stronger shields, but something the Vocarex would never expect from weak, merciful humans. She gestured, and the view screen split to show hundreds of small, stealthy craft that had been secretly attached to Vocarex vessels throughout their empire. For 15 years, we've been placing quantum infiltration nodes on every Vocarex ship that came within range of our scientific missions. Every time you mockingly inspected our harmless vessels, we added more. They remained dormant, learning your systems, copying your protocols, until the day they would be needed. Vorn's yellow eyes widened in disbelief. The day you fired on the Hope, Isla continued, you triggered Protocol Thunderbolt. We've systematically disabled 78% of your military infrastructure without firing a single shot. We control your navigation systems, your life support, your weapons. This is impossible, Vorn whispered. No species has such technology. No species that you respect, Isla corrected. But while you focused on building bigger weapons, we created smarter ones. Your empire has already fallen, Commander. You just don't know it yet. She leaned forward slightly. Now, this is what will happen. Your vessels will be escorted back to Vocarex space, disarmed but intact. Your crew will live to tell others what happened here. The view screen changed again, showing the interior of the Hope during its final moments. Medical staff of all species working desperately to evacuate patients as the hull breached. Among them were clearly identifiable Vocarex civilians, the sick and injured that the Empire had considered expendable. This recording was transmitted by the Hope's emergency beacon before it was destroyed, Isla said, her voice now heavy with emotion. It is being broadcast across all communication channels throughout the galaxy, along with our response. The image changed one final time, showing enormous Earth vessels systematically disabling Vocarex military installations without destroying them, a demonstration of precision and control that made conventional warfare look crude and barbaric by comparison. You fired on mercy, Commander Vorn, Isla said quietly. We answered with fury. but we will rebuild with grace. That is the difference between us." The transmission ended, leaving Vorn staring at his powerless command console as his empire crumbled not with fire and destruction, but with silence and humiliation. 3 months later, Admiral Isla Russo stood before the Galactic Council, her dress uniform adorned with the single medal she permitted herself to wear, the Humanitarian Service Cross she had received as a young medical officer. The United Earth Coalition formally announces the establishment of the Interstellar Medical Accord, she stated, her voice carrying throughout the chamber. This treaty will establish protected zones for medical vessels of all species and create a rapid response network for disaster relief. She glanced at the Vocarex delegation, now led by a civilian government after the military regime's collapse. Their representative, Ambassador Loren, met her gaze steadily. "The events of recent months have shown us all that power without restraint leads to tragedy," Isla continued. "But they have also demonstrated that justice need not be destructive to be effective." Ambassador Threll of the Sophian Collective spoke up. "Admiral, many worlds are concerned about Earth's demonstration of technological superiority. Some fear you may use these capabilities for expansion rather than protection." Isla nodded. "A valid concern. As a gesture of good faith, Earth will be sharing our defensive technologies with Council members. Not our offensive capabilities, those remain deactivated, but the systems that can protect hospital ships and civilian transports from attack." Murmurs of surprise rippled through the chamber. "Furthermore," she continued, "I will be stepping down from my military position to serve as director of the new Interstellar Medical Corps. We believe our resources are better spent healing than fighting." After the session concluded, Ambassador Loren approached Isla in the corridor. "Admiral Rousseau," he said quietly, "my nephew was aboard the Hope. He was being treated for genetic ailments that our own medical science could not address." Isla's expression softened. "I didn't know. Few did. Our previous government did not wish it known that we sought human medical assistance." He hesitated. "I wanted to thank you personally, not for sparing our worlds, though that mercy was unexpected, but for showing restraint even in victory." "It wasn't restraint, Ambassador," Isla replied. "It was principle, the same principle that guided the Hope and all it represented." Later, as her shuttle departed for the memorial ceremony at the site where the Hope had been destroyed, Isla found herself thinking about the long path that had led her here. From physician to admiral to diplomat, roles she had never sought but had accepted out of necessity. The shuttle's view screen showed the memorial taking shape, a massive structure built from the recovered fragments of the Hope, arranged in a spiral pattern that caught the light of the nearest star. At its center, a holographic red cross glowed steadily among the stars. As the shuttle docked, Isla saw a small figure waiting for her, a young Koresh girl, her once injured leg now fully healed. She recognized her from the Hope's final transmission, one of the few patients who had been evacuated before the ship was destroyed. "Admiral Rousseau," the girl said, her translator converting her harmonic language to standard speech. "I am Alara. I am training to become a medical technician now." Isla knelt to the girl's level. "That's a noble calling, Alara. I want to help others as I was helped," the girl replied simply. "My people have a saying, the hand that heals holds the universe." Together, they approached the memorial. At its base, a simple inscription glowed in multiple languages. Asterisk, "They fired on mercy. We answered with fury, but we built with grace." Asterisk. Isla placed her hand on the cool metal, feeling the faint vibrations of the thousands of names being continuously recited by the memorial's AI. Every patient and crew member who had been aboard the Hope. "Was it worth it?" Alara asked suddenly. "The peace we have now, was it worth the loss?" Isla looked down at the young girl, seeing in her the future that her own daughter had been denied. "Peace is always worth striving for," she said carefully, "but it should never come at the cost of justice or truth." She gazed up at the stars, where ships of all species now traveled more freely than ever before. The Vocarex Empire had been reformed, not destroyed. Earth had revealed its strength, then chosen to use it for healing rather than dominance. The hope was destroyed, Isla said quietly, but what it stood for lives on, stronger than before. That's how we honor those we've lost. As twilight descended on the memorial, visitors from dozens of worlds came to pay their respects. Among them, Isla noticed Dr. Kian Idris speaking with a group of young medical students, the next generation of healers who would carry forward the legacy of compassion. At the edge of the observation deck, Commander Reeves approached with a data tablet. The last of the quantum infiltration nodes have been deactivated, Admiral. Protocol Thunderbolt is officially concluded. Thank you, Commander, Isla said, taking the tablet and entering her final authorization code. With a simple command, 15 years of secret preparation and 3 months of unprecedented military action came to an end. What now? Reeves asked. Isla handed back the tablet with a small smile. Now we do what humans have always done best, Commander. We heal. We build. We hope. As night fell completely, the memorial's lights strengthened, casting the red cross of healing across the stars, a beacon visible from light years away. A reminder that mercy was not weakness, but strength of the highest order. Isla Rousseau, once the architect of Earth's most formidable weapon, now stood as the guardian of its greatest gift to the galaxy. Not the power to destroy, but the commitment to heal, and the resolve to protect that commitment, whatever the cost. The red cross gleamed among the stars, no longer a target, but a promise.